What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Riot recently released an update for Aurelion a few days after my video on him actually, and it brings a lot of new details to Aurelion, but as well shows a lot of additional insight as to how some champions are brought to life in their design process. As well, here's some of my favorite comments from the video where I asked what you guys thought about Aurelion. For a chance to be featured in a future video, leave a comment about what you think about Aurelion's soul. Anyways, let's get started. So in this update that was released, Riot officially announced that Aurelion has been cancelled and will never be released, citing a few problems in his design. First off, they were just flat out unable to develop an interesting kit to the point where his design was just shelved. As well, designing the shape of his character model as a long and powerful dragon in a game where turning fast is really important proved to be really difficult. And the third and most important reason is that they were unable to develop Aurelion's personality and story into something that was as awesome as it should be for an epic dragon champion. So unfortunately, Aurelion has been cancelled. However, the idea of him as a champion is going to be transformed a little bit into a new champion called Aurelion's Soul. Aurelion's Soul will be a new dragon-based champion that takes heavy inspiration from Aurelion and is actually set for release sometime in the first half of this year. Aurelion's Soul means something along the lines of golden sun in Latin, which leads us to believe that this will be some kind of sun dragon character. Aurelion was set to be a storm dragon, but Aurelion is looking to be a little bit different based on that, and he's shaping up to be an epic dragon nonetheless, and with a release planned for the first half of the year. And this decision Riot has made with Aurelion brings up something that happens a lot more than you might think when designing characters for a game. When a character gets cancelled or doesn't work out, the design often becomes lost and forgotten to us, but every single time, although the champion might not have worked out, it still had at least something going for it. Maybe the idea for the character was super cool, or some of the abilities in their kit was really fun, or the lore was super interesting. Cancelled champions always have some merit to them, otherwise they wouldn't have been developed enough to get cancelled in the first place. And quite often Riot will take that merit that was discovered in those concepts of those cancelled champions and apply them to someone else. And this is exactly what is happening to Aurelion's Soul, and that he is taking inspiration from the concept of Aurelion and will eventually be released. Another example of this that we saw from a cancelled champion comes from someone you might have heard of, and it's Omen. Omen was a cancelled champion that was set to be released back towards the very end of Season 1 when Riven came out. His character concept and model was actually almost fully fleshed out, but his lore and gameplay struggled to find a fit for what Riot wanted with him. He's been officially cancelled for multiple years now, however, Omen would go on to heavily inspire the design of a future champion. Lead designer Daniel Klein is cited for saying that a lot of what they tried to do with Omen went into Rek'Sai, and just at looking at the in-game models, it's not too hard to see the comparison or the inspiration that Rek'Sai took from Omen. Although Omen might have been cancelled, he would go on to be morphed into what was eventually Rek'Sai. Although we don't know which specific parts of Rek'Sai came from Omen, it's just one of many examples of a champion that didn't work out being brought to life in a different form than the original conception. Another example of this comes from a cancelled champion named Gavid, the Plant King. He had a pretty fleshed out concept, as well as an almost entirely game-ready kit, but his art style and theme as a character did not fit at all into the League of Legends universe, so he was scrapped and was later remade into what eventually became Zyra, who had an almost identical kit with the exception of one ability and a fairly similar concept of being a plant mage, but a completely different backstory and character design in terms of lore and artistic style. Our third and final example comes from a cancelled champion called Priscilla, the Spider Queen. She was an unreleased champion that was left in the development stage, and although there isn't too much detail onto why or how she got cancelled, it's pretty obvious that she would go on to heavily inspire the design of Elise, through the character concept of being a Spider Queen and involving spiders somehow in her kit. When Riot designs a champion that they release to the public, they hold all designs to a really high standard in terms of the overall design, polish, and feel that a character brings to the table, and so a lot of champions get cancelled, and although we might never hear about them or have lost them in the history books, Riot finds ways to bring them to light pretty often, and I would wager that honestly, a majority of the champions that are currently in the game today probably didn't start out with the concept that they currently exist in. We saw this happening with Omen, with Gavid, with Priscilla, and now Aurelion and Aurelion Sol. It's just that most of the time Riot doesn't actually tell us that this is happening. Aurelion Sol is taking that kind of inspiration from Aurelion though, bringing his character concepts to life in a new form and taking heavy inspiration from Aurelion's design. I'm really glad that they've announced some kind of rough release date too, especially since it's so soon, and it just makes me all the more excited for Aurelion Sol. Personally, I think this way of designing champions is honestly great. It means that you can make champions and test things out, and even if it doesn't work out in the end, getting to work with the ideas will almost always mean something. And in fact, it's not quite unlike the process that I use to make videos sometimes. But you have to realize that it's not so much the idea of canceling a champion and mopping up the scraps to put them together into some half-assed creation, rather it's being able to design something and being willing to make incredibly drastic changes when necessary, to make sure that in the end things always come out awesome. And that type of design has given us a lot of amazing champions over the years, and ensures that as long as canceling a champion isn't a big deal at all, Riot can make sure that they put the thought and care that every champion deserves into every single one, every single time. And that's just about it. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you didn't, hit the dislike. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Into a game deadly sure to lose. Major symptomatic fecal flaws due to twisting gut eclipsing bats and forth and it's time I know it takes a mighty dose of faith, but keep in mind we just skip the ship well far